Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my channel, or the first time you've ever seen my channel. That's also fine because I haven't uploaded in a long time. It's been a minute. I feel like I should reintroduce myself. I've also renamed my channel name from my legal name to Malloy Minimum. It's a play on words from the way British people say aluminum, and my middle name, Aloysius. So Alloy Minimum, shove those two things together, Alloy Minimum. Today we're going to be diving into the history of Marvel Comics universe. We are going to explore an often overlooked and obscure character that you may or may not have heard of before. We're going to be uncovering the hidden depths of none other than Typeface. Yes, this guy. He makes weapons from letters. Typeface first appeared in Peter Parker's Spider-Man issue number 24 in 2000. He was created by writer Paul Jenkins and artist Mark Buckingham. Now, who is this junkrat-looking motherfucker? Well, his name is Gordon Thomas, a veteran and a former signsmith who felt the world had left him behind. After being laid off, Gordon created an elaborate costume adorned with letters and symbols, becoming the vigilante now known as Typeface. Now, what makes Typeface so special is his ability to manifest letters and use them as weapons. He uses letters such as A as boomerangs, and V's and X's as shurikens. I mean, talk about throwing the book at somebody. In this panel, you can see him using an L to whack somebody in the face, meaning the man took an L. Retribution! I will have my pound of flesh. Do you hear me, you purveyors of poisonous rhetoric? My letter bombs will engulf you in flames. The tools of a craftsman will bring about your downfall. 1,000 times will your evils be visited back upon you. 1,000 times will your cries for mercy fall on the suddenly deaf ears of Typeface. Typeface, huh? So what does the R stand for? Typeface encounters Spider-Man, but he actually defeats him in his first encounter. I mean, that always happens due to the fact that it is a comic book and you have to make the villain kinda scary. But he did cheat by using some questionable material. I mean, why does he have that on hand? Does he always just carry around Cosby powder to use on superheroes? Now, for the next little bit to make sense, you need some context of what Spider Hybrid is. It's like a giant arachnid spider in the colors of Spider-Man, but is an actual spider from out of space. And aliens brought it there to fuck with Spider-Man for some reason. And it's there. That's all you need to know. When Typeface finally catches up to the man who fired him, Spider-Man once again intervenes in Typeface's shenanigans. However, Spider-Man is being chased by this fucking thing. During the fight between Spider-Man and Spider Hybrid, Typeface is reminded of what his brother said before. He said, "Just live, man," as his last words, and then he died. It's not exactly clear because this is what the panels look like. Clear as mud, right? Typeface has a change of heart and decides to help Spider-Man and forget his revenge plan. After doing so, they are able to expel the Spider Hybrid back where it came from as it's giving birth. Oh god. At the end of all this, Spider-Man kind of just dips. He doesn't really stick around to make sure everything is good and clean. I mean, it's Spider-Man, he probably has other shit to do. Typeface decides, hey, I'm not gonna be a villain anymore. And he vows that he'll never do anything bad and always be good, and the A on his head now stands for assurance. He painted an A on his head instead of an R this time. Typeface can't seem to remember where he put the detonator for the bombs. That's right, he was gonna blow up the building. I don't think I said that already. Turns out the CEO of A Signs is out for that sweet insurance money. And so he blows up the building using the detonator and the bombs that Typeface has planted. At the end of the comic, it is stated that he is not dead, but police are looking for him and that he's a known accomplice of Spider-Man. Side tangent, I find saying what happens in this comic, especially just like the out of context that happens in just Typeface's little arc in this comic is absolutely hilarious to me. I mean, you have a giant arachnid spider from outer space giving birth while being fought with by Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is also having to deal with a terrorist who can form weapons using letters. Next appearance being Spider-Man's Tangled Web in 2001, issue number 18. This issue of Spider-Man is not exactly important. It is 100% a filler issue. It's 100% about Typeface and this other guy named Spellcheck, who is funny yet annoying. That is the last we see of Typeface until Civil War. Typeface is reintroduced to us in Civil War Frontline issue number 3. Typeface spends most of his time in these issues being a background character of an anti-registration group. Typeface is taken to jail after a raid. Somehow he breaks out of jail, that is not explained in the comic at all. Then he has a fight with Venom and dies, and that's all he has to contribute. Funnily enough, Typeface dies in an explosion. They did my man dirty. I mean, 2 out of 3 of his appearances in comic book history is him dying in an explosion. But here's the thing, Typeface's obscurity doesn't make him any less interesting of a hero. In fact, it is exactly because he is not widely known that, he presents the opportunity for Marvel to explore his character and potentially give him a compelling storyline in the future, and maybe even place him into the MCU. But before we do that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. The sponsor of today's video is you guys. You're my sponsor. If you sign up for my Patreon and able to give $3 a month to a broke college student, that would be fantastic. And if you decide to give more, you will be able to vote on future video topics, get access to videos early, and without any of those pesky ads, including this one. You will also get free merch, if that ever happens. If the community gets large enough, access to the Discord server. If even one of you decide to give out of the kindness of your heart, you will be thanked at the end of every video. Let's get back to Typeface and his role in the MCU. Now, you may be asking, hey, Alloy Minimum, how would you introduce Typeface into the MCU? And I would say, thank you, hypothetical stranger. I shall explain that now. Typeface is obviously a very street level character, so I would give him a very street level introduction. He's not going to fight Spider-Man in his first appearance. Spider-Man is too fucking expensive, but he can fight Daredevil. Introduce Gordon as a down on his luck graphic designer and make him work for a soulless company, and then one day he blips away out of reality, and 5 years later he's back. And through the time between end of the blip and whenever Daredevil Born Again happened, he has gone through the ringer. This man has been abandoned by his family, everybody hates him except his own daughter, and he learns that his brother is dead. Instead of dying at war, Joey Thomas, his brother, that's the name of his brother, died at the hands of some low-level thug from the Anti-Up gang. Instead of Queens, we put him specifically in Hell's Kitchen to put him a lot closer to Daredevil. I don't know where Hell's Kitchen is off the top of my head. I don't think it's Queens, but it might be Queens because Spider-Man and Daredevil cross paths a lot. After seeing how the world has changed, he decides to become a terrorist and begins to vandalize and destroy properties of these large corporations. One corporation being the corporation he was not rehired to after he returned from the blip. Turns out most of those properties are all owned by one man, Wilson Fisk. This puts a target on his back. At the height of his crimes, Gordon goes after this old boss, who has only profited since the blip. In this fight, Daredevil is attacked by Bullseye. Typeface, seeing a hero being beat, he remembers one of the last things his brother told him: live your life the way your daughter would want you to. He decides that his daughter, who he hasn't seen in like 5 years, wanted him to be a hero, and so he has a change of heart. Typeface assists in fighting Bullseye, and Bullseye, however, gets away, and only after finding the detonator to blow up the building. In an act of sacrifice, Typeface goes back into the building after realizing that his old boss is still trapped inside. The countdown reaches 0, and he is not outside. The building explodes. The two of them are presumed dead. Typeface survived, but he isn't seen again in probably the end of Daredevil to help in the finale of the show. Now, that begs the question, where do you go from there? What do you use Typeface for? Well, you use him to connect every street level hero to one another without the need of having each and every person cross over with each and every show. Now, once Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and the rest of the Defenders and other street-level heroes become a part of the MCU, you're gonna probably need something or someone to connect them all. Now, in the Netflix show, it was Rosario Dawson's character who did that, but in this show, we probably won't have Rosario Dawson since she's busy being Ahsoka right now. I think casting a dude as Typeface and then having him appear to help other heroes in each one of their shows, and then once they come together, he's gonna be a cool character to stick it all together. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't explained how he got his powers in the MCU, manifesting letter-shaped weapons from basically nowhere. Well, I have a few ideas, but none of them were concrete. One idea is that he was a mutant. His mutant power is the ability to form weapons from letters because it's what comes easiest for him being a professional graphic designer. I mean, he had to look at plenty of typefaces in his day, but for idea number 2, he would use his connections to the army due to the fact that he's a veteran and have his hands on some nanotechnology in vein of Bloodsport from the Suicide Squad. In this one, either the weapons just happen to look like letters, or he makes them letters intentionally as some kind of social statement. The weapons, of course, would have to take the shape of P's, B's, D's, F's, other sharp letters. He can have a lot of creative takes on the English alphabet to make different sorts of weapons. For his first appearance, though, I would limit him to only close-range combat. All this does beg the question, what exactly is his superpower? Can he only control letters, or can he only control paints and inks? Because those are different superpowers. If he controls paints and inks, what exactly classifies as a paint or an ink? In the past, people used to use blood as inks. Would that mean he can control blood? Would that make him like a bloodbender? That's a little too convoluted and too rules lawyery. So, in my version, he is only limited to letters, and intentionally made letters at that. Because if he just decided, hey, this looks like an A, I can manipulate it now, that wouldn't really work. But it has to be a written or typed letter, or even painted, to make it happen. That's how we limit him, that's how we limit his power, that's how we make him street level only. And the biggest thing he can wield is a billboard sign that advertises my Patreon. I think I covered everything there would be to cover in bringing him into the MCU, or at least giving him another chance in the comic books. If you have anything that I should have touched on or talked about, comment it down below and tell me how you would bring this mildly obscure character into the MCU. But for now, like, subscribe, comment, other things that are call to actions, and good night, I guess.